Hey, everybody. Welcome back out. In a few moments, we're going to jump into our Mastermind Monday that we do every week, where we dive into all things sales, marketing, operations, teams, coaching, and maybe just in general, a small business.
Chances are in your business, you're going to face a bunch of problems. And for us, we have scaled from a startup to a multi-million-dollar pressure washing company. And so imagine being able to get all of our problems and our solutions right there in front of you. That's what we're going to be offering here in a moment. And number one is going to be on leadership. And if you aren't growing your leadership and holding yourself accountable for growing as an individual, chances are you're not going to be able to hold your team accountable. And if you don't hold your team accountable, you ain't going to have no team. What's another area that we're going to discuss?
Extremely likely that we jump into sales conversations. We can go over what a normal estimate looks like for us, down to the psychology of why we sell the way we sell. What else?
Yeah, and inside of that sales, you're going to learn that relationships
are the currency of life, baby.
That's right. And then probably an area that I'm going to be able to help a little bit on is inside this conversation called marketing, because ultimately where you are is what everyone sees. So you want to make sure that what everyone sees is something worth buying.
Yeah, you can sell all day long, but if you ain't got no leads, it's a little tougher.
Yeah, so we're going to teach you where the best place to generate leads from, how to get boots to boots on the ground, and also where to spend that precious dollar amount. Should it be Facebook? Should it be Google? Should it be Bing? Should it be, what are those, Angie's List?
Yeah, there's all kinds, and it's ever changing. So we kind of, since we're in an active business now, we kind of float that market with you guys.
Yeah, and then as you scale your business, you're going to have to invite some other team members onto the plane. And so we're also going to be talking about how to invite, how to develop, how to train, how to make sure that they understand what they're supposed to do in order to make the plane stay in the air.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Brady.
I'm Joshua.
And we will see you in a minute.
Hey, welcome out, everybody. What's up? It is Mastermind Monday, and we are so thankful that you're here. And we've got big news today.
Yes, we do.
We're going to be dropping some things that you're going to want to stay around here for and to get an update on. We're going to be switching some things up as a result of some of the different solutions, some problems that we found. And so we're super excited to share those with you. But before we get into all of the different things we're going to share today.
Yeah, big news. It's big news.
It is. Well, it's actually a massive news.
Huge.
It's going to change every single thing that we're talking about here. It's almost like presidential election type news.
Yes.
Okay.
Josh is running for presidency.
Yeah, go ahead and smash the like button, subscribe if you'd like to see me become our next president. Man, I would hate that. I would
might
so
lose
hate that.
subscribers.
Yeah, for sure. I would.
No,
Anyway. But it is the week of Halloween. It goes down tomorrow. And I wanted to start the show by asking you a Halloween question, and also you as well. So if you're with us today and you have any questions in regards to, what we're going to be talking about is branding and understanding how to come up with a brand and what your customers understand a brand to be, and how for you to be able to make the most out of every dollar decision that you make. We're going to try to cover as much of the topics as possible as it relates to branding. But when it comes to Halloween, this is the question my wife and I were chewing on yesterday. If money was no object, and also preparation, it wasn't going to take you like 10 days to come up with this, and you could end up being anybody for Halloween. This can be past, present, fiction, or nonfiction. What is the character that you would love tomorrow to show up as everywhere you are, and you're going to have a blast? You're going to smile all day long. And so that's a question for you as well. Let us know who you would choose to be all day long. But if you could go anywhere, and be anybody, who would you be for Halloween?
See, I wasn't allowed to do Halloween growing up, but I would say that.
Wait a minute. Why were you not allowed to do Halloween growing up? Now,
Well, because my parents, they were right in the ways that they thought.
Okay.
As far as what they believed to be good for me to intake.
Yeah.
And they didn't think that it was healthy for me to participate in the Halloween spirit.
Yeah. And so if you've got parents that prevented you from participating in Halloween,
you had to be a Bible character if you were going trick-or-treating like Abraham or something.
Well, what's interesting about this conversation, when I first gave my life to the Lord, I'd say for the first 20 years, I was like, Halloween is pagan.
Yeah.
And then you find out that it's one of the most, sacred from a Christian's faith perspective, because it's Hallows Eve, which is when martyrs were celebrated for their life that they gave for the faith. Yeah. So Halloween was actually one of the most sacred holidays that
it was turned evil.
And then it was turned evil.
Dang.
So, yeah, so,
I did not know that.
Yeah, if you want to check out Hallows Eve and how saints all over the world celebrate it, it's actually the night of. They end up celebrating those who have given their lives for the testimony and the faith of Christ.
Wow.
Yeah, you didn't know that?
My mind is so blown.
Yeah, I promise you can check it out. Google it, YouTube it if you would like.
Well, to answer your question, because I don't want to get too far, but I'd be Iron Man. Iron Man is just the GOAT. He's the greatest. He's the Tom Brady of superheroes.
Yeah.
And he's got the cool suit. And I'm not saying I want the suit. I want the whole suit. If you're saying money's no object, then I want you to build me the actual Iron Man.
Oh my goodness.
With Jarvis.
Would you hurt yourself?
Yes. But not in the suit.
All right.
The suit would protect you.
Iron Man always is accompanied by different individuals. Would you have folks that are walking around with you as Iron Man? Because when I see Iron Man, I see cheerleaders.
I'll be Iron Man. You be Pepper.
No, Kendall will be Pepper. Okay.
Yeah.
If anybody can be Pepper, it's going to be Kendall.
That's right.
But funny that you would ask. I have thought through this, and I'm like, if I could play any character for Halloween, I have no doubt I would want to be, rolling down the street in my 6'4".
Okay.
Man, I would be Eazy-E, and I would have a flannel. I'd have sunglasses, Jerry curls, but I would have to shave, which is my biggest problem. No. So that makes me think I'd have to be like Suge Knight, if I had to be a character. But man, that throws back so many memories. I would have a blast pretending to be Eazy-E all day.
I'm laughing so much right now.
Do you know who Eazy-E is?
Yeah, barely.
Yeah, he's so fun.
Easy E kind of went in with the whole Halloween thing. They were in the same bucket growing up.
You had to shut the door, put a towel underneath the your door, and put headphones on
and play it.
And play, NWA and stuff like that. So,
oh my gosh, that cracks me up.
But anyway, if we were to say, hey, I wanted to have fun and dress up, I think it'd be fun to be easy. But it's hard to even transition into prayer after talking about this. But we are going to give this show to the Lord, and we're going to pray. And if you've got anything specific that we can pray for you about, in reality, our lives are always a challenge. There are things going on in our world and other people's world that we care for, that we're always needing to go to the Lord in prayer. So let's pray. Father, thank you again for another morning on this planet, God. I thank you for allowing us to be here to talk about a silly thing like branding and how we can ultimately surrender our lives back to you, God. And so every company that's here, for us as well, we don't want a brand that just brands ourselves, but we want to brand something that makes an impact while making an income. We just thank you for life, and we surrender this back to you. And everyone said,
amen.
Amen. Everyone's like me and you today.
And Truth Seeker's here.
Okay.
That being said, welcome out, Truth Seeker. Thanks for joining us again. I see that you have asked a question in here to kind of kick this off, and it's a good question that should be asked and should be answered. But you said, do you know if the water restrictions in Franklin apply to us as a service provider? Franklin's a city in Tennessee. But man, there are restrictions everywhere.
Yeah. And we actually read this Truth Seeker prior to going live. And we had this long discussion of us being in Greenbrier, and we got called by the city on doing something that we've never even got called inside of Franklin and Brentwood or Belmead or anywhere else doing. And in all places, we got called in a beautiful city of Greenbrier. And we ended up having to stop doing what we were called there to do as a result of the laws on the books. And so whenever it comes to a legal conversation or something, you need to always go back to those that are putting the rules in play.
Yeah.
And so the first thing I would tell you as Truth Seeker is I would call one of the local pressure washing distributors and supply houses, and then ask them first for their fill. And then they're going to end up sending you back to the folks who made up the restrictions to begin with. Because what you find out is that your business can almost be shut down for every single thing that you do.
For sure.
If somebody wants to be hard on it. And it's just like your neighbors. You start a pressure washing company inside of your cul-de-sac. It's one little truck, maybe a trailer, and it becomes 2, it becomes 3. The next thing you know, you're okay to be there unless a neighbor ends up complaining and saying, hey, we're not zoned for commercial business, and then you're out.
Yeah.
And so a lot of things in this life is that there's written rules. It's kind of like, can I hunt on public property, or can I hunt inside my backyard with a bow, with archery? And the rule, federal says one thing, and then the local government has another. And there's this, is it jelly? What do we say?
A gray area, fog.
So when I think of jelly, it's gray, because you got something that's a
firm,
fruit.
But it's also liquid.
It's also liquid. You got this tension that's in play. And so when you're trying to make a decision as far as saying, hey, what is the right thing to do? You need to go back to the person that came up with the rule. And so instead of going by what we would say or what Absolute or the Power Wash store, you need to go to the people that wrote it to understand the heartbeat behind the law. And what you learn is they don't care sometimes as much as the person that reports it. And it just depends on if somebody's trying to be difficult on you or if you've got favor inside of somebody's life.
It is hard. Once you start going down that path, there are restrictions. Seriously, you can look this up. There are restrictions on homeowners having to reclaim all of their own water from cleaning the driveway or the car.
Yeah.
You can't go into the street.
Yeah. The homeowner.
And so like the homeowner, are they going to actually, when they're pressure washing their driveway, are they actually going to collect their water?
Yeah. And so when we started opening up pressure washing companies all over the United States, we had to start learning all these different rules of what someone allows in one place and what they do in another. And then you go looking at what other companies are doing and you realize everything is not black and white. There is gray inside of it. And there's this tension and there's rules in place that don't make any sense. And ultimately you got to determine how to work alongside of the community and the culture and the rules
Right.
that you're in without
good.
getting fined. And I hate to not give you a direct answer, but it's almost when you end up asking a CPA or, your bookkeeper a question, they'll say, "Hey, I'm not an attorney. You need to go to
Right.
an attorney." You're like, "You can't just tell me if this is tax deductible or not."
Right.
And you're like, "Yeah, you're stuck." And so anyway, so sorry we couldn't be more helpful on that. Just know that you're always going to be in the tension between what is on the written books
Yeah.
and then what is
Culturally acceptable.
allowed inside the culture, depending
Yeah.
upon who's upset at you at that time.
He said he would go and get that information from the source.
Yeah, and when you get that, feel free to drop that article inside this chat
Yeah.
and just share it with anybody else that might be coming in wondering like, "Hey, what's the rules here?" And then what you learn is that the rules for everything.
Yeah,
and,
there are.
and it's hard to operate anything without it. But when it comes to branding, do you want to just go ahead and get into that conversation?
Yeah, let's jump into it. This is a big conversation. Now, if you're like me, you probably thought that branding was just the logo on your hat. Like, I honestly, very beginning, elementary, that's the brand. The brand is Browns, it's
Yep.
the dog, it's the logo, it's Love Works.
Yep.
And then that's it. All right, let's wrap up the show.
Yeah. So I think it's helpful before we get into what branding is, you really do need to know what branding is not, because we get this
Yeah.
idea that the name of our business is basically our brand, and it's not the name of your business that makes up a brand. Now, it's important that you think through the name, and we'll
Right.
get into that.
Mhm.
Also, it's not exactly what problems you solve that make up your brand. And so if you've got a food company, the problem that you're solving is people's hungry, but it doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily mean that it's your brand. Some other things that aren't your brand, it's not necessarily like the colors. The colors matter because they have psychological
Sure.
meanings to
Effects,
folks.
yeah.
Effects. If you're all pinked out, that's going to make a statement. If you're all blacked out, that's going to make a statement. If you're all white out, and then you add little strips and designs, that's going to be associated, but that's not really who your brand is. And so your brand is, do you want to share with them what their brand is?
Yeah. Yeah. Like what Josh is saying, it's not just the logo. And I want to ask a question first, because I think this might help us get into a little bit more of what the brand is really provoking. It's provoking an emotional state in us. But what is the best fast food restaurant?
Depends on who you ask, and depends on what part of the country you're in, because these places aren't everywhere.
That's true. Some people might say In-N-Out. A lot of In-N-Out fans out there.
There are, and I don't understand why. Like my sister, we went to Arizona, and she took me to her favorite place, which is In-N-Out. We're so excited to go there, and she loves it, but me not so much.
Yeah.
And so it's like there's nostalgia connected to it. So she saw that brand as something that
There's some hype behind it.
Right. And so guess what? When we say just In-N-Out and talk about brand, two people can have two different ideas about your brand.
Right.
And so your brand isn't necessarily what you think about it or what your mama thinks about
this
it.
is good.
It's not what your mama, your daddy,
Your
or
dog.
even your haters.
Right.
It's not what they think. Your branding is more powerful than that. But to answer your question, in the South, it's hard to deny that there's not a more powerful brand in our culture, because you go to anywhere one of these is located, you're spending a good amount of time. But
you're close to one of these locations when you think it's a school zone and cars are backed up on the street, and you're like, should I be slowing down right now? Am I in a school zone?
Yeah. And so it's Chick-fil-A. And so for our area, if there's a Chick-fil-A and it's not Sunday, it is slamming busy.
Some people are probably still waiting on a Sunday, waiting for Monday. But yes, so Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is it. It's the best. It's the GOAT. It is the Iron Man, the Tom Brady of restaurants. And one thing that makes them so good at what they do is their foundational block is what makes them different from all the other ones.
Yeah.
It's a differentiator. And I think the biggest differentiator inside of Chick-fil-A is their consistency.
Okay.
You know exactly what you're going to get when you go. Like, I think if anybody who thinks about Chick-fil-A, they're not thinking about the little red chicken
So good.
on a square.
That's so good.
You know what they're thinking about?
What are they thinking?
The team member that's running down the street because you forgot your Chick-fil-A sauce.
That's so good.
That's what they're thinking about.
Yeah. And it's like a 12-year-old. Chick-fil-A hires all the 12-year-olds in our city. And that's why you don't see any except for Chick-fil-A.
Where are all the kids?
Yeah. And so they're all at Chick-fil-A. But there's wisdom inside that, and so what you're identifying is that there's a behavior that is reflected behind the brand. You're not, chances are there's other brands that we all can agree on, but we're not going to say their names, but you could run through their drive-through and they're throwing the sauces at you.
I might say a couple names. I don't know.
Don't say them, because we love them all. We want to clean them all.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And so there are some places,
you know who you are.
There are some places you go to and the experience you have ends up determining the brand they have.
That's good.
And so we can identify a brand by the experience that we play in. And so if you want to think about growing a brand, yes, we love the beautiful images, taking caricatures, the horses, I said horses. What kind of brand has a horse? I don't know.
Ferrari.
Thank you so much.
Ferrari.
Whatever. And so there's all these animals, there's dudes, their faces, their cartoons, and those things are important, but they'll remember those based on how you make them feel.
Yeah.
And so if you're trying to grow a company and you want to look at your brand, you really have to look at your behaviors of who you are when you show up, and then being consistent with what you give. Have you ever been to a barbershop and had the best experience on the planet?
Yes. Not in a while, as you can tell.
Yeah. And there's some great barbers around here.
For sure.
And Brad's Barber down in Madison is one of the places I enjoy going.
That is a good spot.
And they take like 45 minutes on your hair and only charge a reasonable amount of money. And you go somewhere else and it's the same price,
different experience,
and an inconsistent experience. And ultimately, if you end up giving some food away, if you end up saying, hey, can I get you some water? Hey, can I get you the hot towel? Hey, I went to a beard and trim place last year and I had this great experience, right? They ended up, sitting me down, they washed hair and did different things and trimmed up. It was like an hour for this experience.
Oh, man.
And
Spa.
I'm like, dude, I need this every 6 weeks. This is high living. And then I ended up booking back, had a different person, and I got a different experience. And I felt bad to even say, hey, do you guys wash hair? But that person first, because I started thinking like maybe it was something special that lady did for me. Maybe it was something that they don't supposed to give away. And so the next thing you know is that brand had an inconsistent experience depending upon the team member. And then I was like, I gave them one more shot and it was a worse experience. Now, these folks are great people. They have a great brand. When it comes to their logo, they have the right name, but my experience was different depending upon the person. And even the same person can give you a different experience based on what they're going through. And so this is what you need to think through when it comes to a brand. Do we even want to go here yet?
Well, I think to sum the description of brand up, I would say it's the consistent emotional experience that someone has with you or your business.
So good. And so how do you give someone a consistent emotional experience inside of a pressure washing company?
I would say first step inside of creating that consistency is, your systems, your SOP, standard operating procedures. And so like
what is an SOP? I got SOP at the house.
Soap.
Oh yeah. So what are you talking about?
I'm talking about the written out systems for how to wash a house, how to talk to a customer, how to close out with a customer, how to get a 5-star review, how to get everything, how to get in the truck, how to get out of the truck.
Why do I have to write all that down?
The reason why you have to write it all down is if you don't, then you'll have an experience like what you had with a different person who didn't know how to wash the hair, didn't know to wash the hair, while meanwhile the other person's washing everybody's hair and giving them a great experience. It's going to be inconsistent. It's going to be a different business.
What if they knew what they were supposed to do, but they didn't do it?
No, now we're getting a little away from branding, but we're protecting the brand is what's going on.
But bam.
We're not creating, we're protecting it.
And how do you protect a brand?
You've got to hold people accountable.
Yeah. So it gets back into this conversation about you can't hold somebody accountable for something you haven't written down. And that's why you're getting into
explicit expectations, very clear expectations. And the brand does start with you. It starts with you, and then it goes to your team, and then it goes from your team to the customers, and then it goes from the customers to their friends.
So good. Yeah. And so it's every behavior, every service. I even like thinking about it from scripting out what you want someone to experience, from the phone call to the estimate to the service, and to getting the 5-star review, and then hopefully getting a affiliate relationship with them. And so if you script all that out, you then have a consistent document to remind yourself and others, because we forget ourselves, hey, what is the experience that we're wanting people to give?
Yeah.
And so the next thing you know, if we're not reviewing it, and we get into like life planning or vision maps that we all have a desire of a 30, 60, 90. But if we're not reviewing that consistently, the next thing you know, we're off track from the who we desire to be, which means our wives end up experiencing a different brand.
Yeah.
Our kids end up experiencing a different brand. And ultimately the brand that we want people to experience is Christ likeness.
That's so good.
You know, so when it comes to humility, honesty, and hard work, which is our core values, we have to remind ourselves, what are this? What do great people do in these situations? But if you're not careful, the next thing you know, you forgot what's the most important, and that's to take care of yourself first, and then remind yourself what you want other people to experience when they're around you, which is your brand.
That's so good. And you know, the mission, vision, values, and goals, that is something that is, it's said so much, but it's shocking to me how many people actually haven't sat down and written those out. I have conversations with people all the time. Oh, well, you know, they don't even know what their mission, vision, values, goals are. And it's like, how can you expect to create a brand that you want if you don't even know where you're trying to go or what you're trying to achieve? And it starts with you. It starts with you writing that down. So if you have been listening, that's your first step.
Yeah. So I met with a guy who just left his job last week, and he's opening up his own handyman service. And the dude is a good guy, hard worker. He cares about what he's doing. And he ended up showing me his logo. And I looked at the logo, and he's an artist, man. The logo is dope. It looks really, really cool. But then I read the name on his logo, and I had to ask, what does that name mean? And then he ended up sharing it was a paradox that he learned in Sunday school, and he always loved it. And if he ever opened up a company, he wanted to name it that. I can't even tell you what it is because I can't pronounce it. Now, he's a handyman service.
Sure.
And his name it ain't his name. It's some paradoxical, something that's in there. And I said, hey, if you wouldn't mind, I would encourage you to call it the bearded handyman or the bearded toolbox, move it to something that your customers know what you're doing inside your brand.
It's recognizable. It's memorable.
And this is what he said. I'm not trying to grow. And I'm like,
all right.
Okay. If you don't want to scale and grow, yeah, you can do whatever you want to do when it comes to your logo.
Yeah.
But the immediate thought in my head was, you might not want to grow today, but you may want to grow tomorrow when the bills are due.
Yeah.
And if not, there's going to come a time where your spouse is going to want you to grow.
Well, I mean, and this is your mission, vision, values, goals, and your why.
Yeah.
It's totally fine if you want to build a business that doesn't grow.
There you go.
And die. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
And if that's what you're wanting to do, then create a name that is fun and is unique to you. But if you're wanting to grow, that's why it is so important to know where you are going. Because if you're wanting to grow a big business, you do have to have a simple name.
Yep. And so, and he needs to be able to remind himself by writing it down, I don't want to grow and scale. So beside his why or beside his mission, vision, values, and goals, the mission is a job a day or a job a week.
Sure.
But ultimately his brand, his logo, his colors, his uniform, everything that he is going to determine whether or not he grows and scales, or if he ends up hitting his vision of where he wants to be. And it's okay not to not want to grow to scale, because there's a lot of stress inside of that.
Yeah.
But if you do desire, you do need to look at everything that you do, and you need to have SOPs, because when you die, your business dies. And if that's your goal, then keep doing what you're doing. But if you want your business to outlive you, you need to be thinking through your brand and then making sure that you communicate and write everything down, like you said.
Sure. So as we are building out this brand, and as we are linking, we're going from our mission, vision, values, and goals to where we want to be and who we want to be. And then we're tying our branding into it, like our logos, our colors. We've got all this established. How do you communicate the story of your business? Because that really is the story brand.
Yeah.
So how do you communicate a message through your social media, your website, on your trucks? How do you communicate that story brand?
Yeah. Do you want me to answer, or do you have some thoughts?
No, I don't. I'm asking. You're the expert.
Yeah. And well, I don't know about expert, but I would tell you this, is that you're not the hero. And so when you're thinking about branding your company, or how do I communicate to my story to a person I meet, and you do need to know what you're trying to communicate to the people that you meet. And because you can say that, hey, I'm the best pressure washing company in Middle Tennessee, but that doesn't communicate really a story that your customers want to be invited into. And it doesn't create a story where your team wants to be invited into. And so when we talk about story, we think about 4 different characters: hero. Well, I should start at the negative and then go to the top: victim, villain, hero, and guide. And so in every
Can you say that one more time?
In every story, there's a victim, there's a villain, there's a hero, and a guide.
Okay.
Our goal is not to be the victim or the villain, because a lot of times we're like, hey, why'd you start your business? Because my boss is a jerk. And you're like,
a victim.
You're a victim now, and your boss is a jerk. Hey, why haven't you grown over the last 10 years? You're like, because this other company out there has been taking all my leads from me. All right, they're the villains, you're the victim, your customers now want to buy from you. And it's like, no, that's not going to be attractive. That's not a story that invites anybody in. And that's why it's better not to be comparing yourself between everybody else, but just say, hey, why are you starting a pressure washing companies? For us, it was to provide for great people, give them satisfying work, and to pay them well. That was the very beginning. I had to sit and think, why do I exist? And all the books told me I existed for my customers. And I'm like, I don't think that's my real why. Like, I don't know if my main goal is to be the best blank out there, but my goal is to hire the best people that I can find, pay them well, and then give them satisfying work. Because what you find out is, if you hire great people, your customers are going to be taken care of, because now it's the trump card. It's like, instead of sending me out there, I can actually send somebody that might be better than me than I am, especially as I get old, to be able to do stuff that maybe somebody can do a better job of.
Sure.
And so inside of Brown's Pressure Washing, we created that victim, villain, hero, and guide story, as the villain is going to be the rain. It's going to be the leaves. It's going to be the algae. It's going to be the problem of the solution that our company provides to you. And so we want our customers to feel like heroes. Like, hey, I know it feels like, I don't know what right word to use here. It feels bad sometimes to have black all over your roof. It looks like it needs to be replaced. You look like a haunted mansion. And that, seriously, when you pull up or you're trying to sell the house and you look up at your house and you see black streaks, you think you have to replace your roof, but you don't have to replace it. It can actually be soft washed.
Right.
And I was actually chatting with a lady at a booth who works at a roofing contractor. And I said, this was yesterday, and I said, hey, do y'all have any companies that y'all partner with that can actually offer, or I actually said, hey, do you roof clean? She was like, no, we don't do that. That's very dangerous. I was like, why is it dangerous? She says, you just can damage all the roofs that you pressure wash. And I'm like, there's a lot of truth in that.
Yeah.
From a sales perspective.
It's only truth.
But
to pressure wash it, it's the truth.
I said, hey, but there's also this thing called soft washing that actually is recommended in order to maintain the life and integrity of your shingle. And she was like, yeah, but there's a lot of companies that don't know that. And I'm like, that's why it's important to make sure you have a good company that can end up taking care of that. So long story short, when you end up having, I just went down.
No, it's good, because that's part of branding
is education.
It's education, creating content for the marketplace. That is so a part of branding. You are establishing yourself and your brand as the experts. And so if you aren't putting content out there, providing value to your customers on, hey, how often should I wash my house? Top 10 ways to keep your house clean.
Yep.
Go out and do that and start establishing yourself inside your community as the expert.
Yeah. And so when you're communicating your brand, there's also a book called Story Brand that can actually help you with this. Donald Miller wrote it. But you ultimately want to make sure the way that you think about your company is actually a guide to your customer's story journey. And so when they call you up, they call you because there's a pain they're wanting you to fulfill. And so the pain is obviously caused by the villain, which in our case is dirt and grime and things that look like doo-doo water. But that's the word I was wanting to use. But I know it's such a middle school word, but I do hang out sometimes with middle schoolers. It looks poor. I do that. And so they feel like, hey, we need some help. And so, hey, we see that problem. We can come alongside of you and help you take care of that. And so it's our story come alongside of you to make what you vision take place. And that sounds like a very no-brainer, dumbed down version. But if you don't think through the little bitty touches of your company on how your salesman, if your salesman come out, and this has happened to us before, and the salesman is saying, oh, that company over there, you don't want to use them. They use sloppy work. We've heard so many bad stories. And it's like, well, what stories were they? Because we don't hear that many of them. It's like, but it's like they're villainizing other competitors to make them look like the heroes. And really the customers are just wanting their roof clean. And so get into that narrative and quit trying to make others look bad so you can look good. Make your customer feel like, hey, we're going to help you take care of this. That's all part of branding and how they feel about the situation. Yeah.
So good. Yeah. And so like what Josh is saying, we want to be that fourth one. We want to be the guide. We want to say, here are the things that we want to equip you with to give you so that you can be the hero of this situation.
Yeah. Hey, let me share with you a acronym. It's called KISS. When it comes to branding, this is such an important thing to remember. It stands for Keep It Simple, Stupid. And so when you think about your branding, don't get too complex. Don't get too cute. And if you're wanting to be coachable, I would encourage you to listen to other companies that have become successful over time.
Yeah.
Because here's what happens when you try to coach someone that already knows it all is you can't help them get where they are to where maybe they want to be because they've already created the solution. The best branding is super simple to the point. And so when you think about your logos, when you think about your colors, when you think about, your uniforms, there's uniforms that have 15 different patches on it. And they're all these certification that looks like a Christmas tree, which is really cool. Like when I first started the pressure washing company, I reached out and looked at those and I'm like, man, they can be, I don't want to say any negatives because we are in great relationship with these different companies, but it's like, I wasn't trying to brand their company. I was trying to brand my company. So why would I want to buy a shirt that has 15 different logos on that looks super sick?
Yeah, they do look sick.
Dude, every time
you're buying it for yourself because it's just cool.
But your customers don't care.
Right.
And then they need to remember who you are, not who you're certified by.
Sure.
And so when you're growing your company, grow your company, don't grow somebody else's company. And that gets into this marketing conversation, which I know we're not here now. We'll put a link at the end of the show on a marketing conversation that you need to get into and need to process. I would say your brand and your marketing are the two big parts of your business that will propel whether or not you sell and get cash flow.
Well, and this is, I don't think this goes too far into the marketing because so much of the consistency around everything, every part of your business is what is building or taking away from your brand. If you're confusing, you're losing.
Yeah.
And so like on your shirts, we've got our badge right here, humble, honest, hardworking teams. This is a part of who we are.
Yeah.
This is not the surfactant that we use.
Right.
This isn't apple butter or whatever.
Which we're big fans of apple butter. It's okay.
No, I'm saying but we're not confusing. The customer doesn't care what kind of soaps we're using.
They want results.
They want a friendly face that knows their name, that shows up on time every single time, who they can trust and refer to their mom to have their house cleaned.
Yeah. Hey, we are not tied right now to anyone else's money. And so we're able to give away like the straight facts without
Yeah.
being persuaded by affiliate relationships. One of the reasons I would encourage you to like, subscribe, join the Browns pressure washing community, which we're starting a podcast next week, which I'm so excited to talk about. It's going to be called the Pressure Washing Pastor Podcast.
Let's go.
It's going to be everything about pressure washing and a lot more. And so in life, we don't want to just learn about pressure washing, but we want to learn about life. And so we want to be good spouses. We want to be good fathers. We want to be good team members. We want to be good business owners. I'm losing words, but I'm basically trying to share with you, it's not just what you do in life, but it's who you are. And so we're building a community that says, hey, come inside of our community. We'll help you not only grow and scale a pressure washing company, but we'll help you grow and scale a healthy pressure washing company by having a work-life balance. And then we'll make the money go into your pocket instead of everyone else's pocket. Because if you're not careful, you're on these streams of different influencers. And the next thing you know, you're buying their CRM, you're buying their chemicals, you're buying their soft wash equipment. And that's not anything wrong in that. Some of them do a great job. But what they share with you might be something that influences you to make a decision that is in the best interest of them versus what's in the best interest of you over time.
Wow, so good. So starting November 7th.
Yeah, next Tuesday, we'll announce that again at the very end. But next Tuesday, 8 p.m., we're going to go live on Facebook and on YouTube. And then we're also going to put that inside of a podcast where you can take it on the go with you. And what we plan on doing is inviting other pressure washing companies.
We've got some guests lined up.
We've got 7 that have.
They're smart.
Yeah,
they're awesome. You guys, they're smarter than us.
And they're good people, and they're going to be speaking into their challenges. They're going to be sharing their stories and their lives, and then also tips and tricks on what they would do in scaling and growing a company. And so we're excited about that. We're also going to have vendors on that can end up offering promotional codes where you can end up saving money when you end up purchasing different chemicals or equipment or marketing or CRM to be able to give the value back to you. So we're super excited about getting connected with that. And so no more Monday morning masterminds starting next week, starting in November. We're going to go on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Caleb, can you drop that in the chat so everybody can copy it and paste it and save it into their calendar? Because this is going to be good. It's going to be a good time for you you've gotten past the Monday mayhem. It's not 9 a.m. where jobs are being rescheduled through the weekend to Monday morning. And you're going to be able to sit down, relax, and just enjoy the time. The kids are going to be already in bed.
Hey, can I tell you something that fires me up when it comes to this conversation on branding and using your money to grow somebody else's company? It's advertising on like Home Advisor. It's advertising on these other platforms that you're competing with other companies in order to get a lead. And when you're giving money to somebody else, you're helping that business grow their business. And so for us, we didn't want to grow, Yelp. We weren't trying to grow, help me out, Home Advisor. We weren't trying to grow Angie's
Thumbtack, I think, is one of them too.
They're all good, and you can find work there. But when you give $1 to that brand, and it's a brand, you're actually helping them grow in the algorithm. And they really don't care about you. They care about their brand and growing their brand. And so they might say, hey, we're trying to help you out here. But really, they're using that money to up their SEOs in the search engine rankings so they can end up acquiring more work. And so when we use $1, we want to be able to grow Browns, not these other companies. And so that's something that
and those are the first to the bottom anyways. Like you're trying to trying to win the bid at you can't even do any kind of value proposition. It's just, what is the price? So it's the first to the bottom. So if someone did want to spend marketing money to build their own brand and not someone else's, how would they do that?
Check out our video on marketing. That's inside the link that's going to be showing up after this. And so stick around, watch it till the end. And then the video that we talk about marketing, because we do create a marketing plan and how to spend your best dollar. And we don't want to waste our money, and we don't want you to waste your money as well, because when you are starting a company, you need every single dollar that you can get. So good. Yep. Any other questions on branding?
A ton, but I don't know if we can get into all of them. But no, I think that's pretty much it. I think that we should have another show after this.
We should.
That's my vote, anyways.
Yeah. Is there any final words that you would say when it comes to about, like, if I jumped on this show when it comes to branding, I really would think that it has something to do with my logo. Should I use a dog or should I use a pressure washer?
Yeah.
Should I use my name or should I use All American? You name it. And I know there's an All American, there's a veterans, there's going to be all these cool words. But when it comes to branding, what matters most is really the why that you began your company to begin with.
So good.
And if you want to sell it one day, you might need to call it like Pro or All American or Number One or you name it, and be thinking like this. When it comes to branding, it's really an SEO game where you're wanting to make sure that the services that you provide are inside the name of your logo. And that way, when it's being searched by AI, chat, YouTube, all the different things that are popping up, if you're a pressure washing company, you better have a name, pressure washing.
Yeah.
If you are a plumbing company, if you're solving somebody's problem with a service, let the number one service be inside your name. And then don't get too crazy with your graphics.
Sure.
You know, it might look good on a sleeve, but it might not look good on like a shirt,
a website.
And it's not simple. If you look at the logo and you're like, I can't read the name of the company and I don't know what services they provide. And so just make sure it's super simple when you end up creating your brand.
Yep.
Yeah. And so for us, we ended up writing Love Works at the very top of our logo. And then it's just Brown's Pressure Washing. And the reason it's a dog is I had a dog named Liberty, and you ended up getting a black dog named
Who Dat?
Yeah, Who Dat, which was a missionary's dog. I think that person ended up going off and starting a church.
Yep.
And for us, we wanted people to experience what we experienced with our labs. And it was like the most friendly experience you can have.
Yeah.
My lab did not growl at me.
No. Very loyal.
Yeah, super loyal, wagging the tail. And it's like when you meet a Brown's Pressure Washing team member, I wanted you to meet somebody that was like the most friendly person that you can imagine.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where that came from. And then we ended up going through a book called Love Works, where we understood that, hey, the way that we win the relationship is we work through this thing called love. And so love requires everything from you, where you lay your life down for somebody else's because someone else laid their life down for you. And it's like, this is the no-brainer of how we are to respond inside of our community and our culture. And if the customer says, hey, I see a little streak up here, you take all the hoses, rehook the water back up because love works. And if you're willing to do it, you'll grow your brand, which is what we wanted to experience. And then just the name Brown's Pressure.
Yeah. Love Works is probably I would say one of the number one resources to grow your brand internally through your team, through who you are. And then Story Brand is the next resource that I would say that builds your brand externally. It really helps you understand everything in there. So,
Well, I think that's all that we have today. The next time that you're going to see us is going to be next Tuesday night at 8:00. And we would like to ask a favor from you. If you have friends, if you know folks in the pressure washing community, we are trying to build the largest community on YouTube and on podcasts that wants to grow and scale a healthy pressure washing company. And so help us get the word out by letting your friends know, share it with others, send them a text and say, hey, these guys are going to start being live on Tuesday nights. We chose Tuesday because we didn't think Monday night football would be a conflict. We didn't think Wednesday night church or Thursday night football. So we're like, let's go Tuesday. And so we'd love for you to join us there.
Hey, we've got another comment on here.
Let's go.
And this is actually more of a request. Truth Seeker says that his wife, Mindy, has actually just been referred to an oncologist for a mystery illness and has wondered if we could pray for her real quick.
Oh, it'd be our pleasure.
And just for them as their family. So do you want to pray for them?
And let me encourage you, whenever someone asks you to pray for them, don't say, hey, we got you. One thing that we try to model inside of our company is when we meet a customer or a vendor or a team member and they got something heavy and they say, hey, will you pray for us? It's not, hey, yeah, we'll pray for you. It's let's pray.
Let's do it right now.
And so take that as an opportunity to always pray. If you're watching this in the future and you're a person of faith, I believe God is outside of time. And so he's not only in the present, he's also in the past. He's inside the future. And so we're going to ask you to pray for Truth Seeker's wife. Did we get a name?
Mindy.
Like that? Mindy. And so let's go to the Lord in prayer and just ask God to be good and give peace inside of this situation. Let's pray. Father, we love you. We thank you for your good and your grace to our lives. We recognize that our bodies are a gift and they're also made and designed by you. So, Father, I pray for Mindy. Ask that you would anoint her from the top of her head to the bottom of her feet with your blood, that you would give her a sense of peace and comfort that can only come from your presence, God. I pray that you do something great inside of this family's life. And Father, whatever may take place, may it be a result of you being the author and the finisher of our faith. So many times we go through things that we didn't necessarily desire to go through, so we could end up being a person that you desire for us to be. And so, Father, during this time, give her wisdom, give her direction. If there's children inside the home, help them trust in you, to love in you, and just put their faith inside of you in this situation. And God, we just surrender it back to you and look forward to hearing something beautiful take place as a result. It's in Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Hey, so that's it. So basically next Tuesday night, we really do want to invite you to be on it. Also, check out our new podcast, The Pressure Washing Pastor. It's going to be more than pressure washing. And so, yes, we'll talk about how to grow and scale your business, but we're also going to talk about how to grow and scale your life, where you can end up being the man of faith, woman of faith, grow your family, grow your fitness, and grow your work ethic.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Until next time.
Peace.